Welcome to Volume 3 of the Private Pilot Checkride Test Prep. This video will review 10 questions you may be asked on the oral portion of the Private Pilot Checkride regarding pilot qualifications. Let's jump into the questions. What are the currency requirements for private pilots? According to FAR Part 61.57, no person may act as a pilot in command of an aircraft carrying passengers of an aircraft certificated for more than one pilot flight crew member unless that person has made at least 3 takeoffs and 3 landings within the preceding 90 days. The pilot must have been the sole manipulator of the flight controls in the same category, class, and type of aircraft. When flying at night, the takeoffs and landings must be to a full stop. Pilots should also remember that a flight review is required every 24 calendar months. See FAR Part 61.56 and 61.57 for the specific regulations regarding biennial flight reviews and currency requirements. Describe what is allowed and not allowed when flying under Basic Med. When flying under Basic Med, pilots may only fly aircraft authorized to carry no more than 6 total occupants. Max takeoff weight of the aircraft can be no more than 6,000 pounds, and the maximum number of passengers is 5. Additionally, no international flights are allowed unless authorized by the country in which the flight is conducted. Lastly, the maximum indicated airspeed when flying Basic Med is 250 knots. See FAR Part 61.113 and FAR Part 61.23 for the specific regulations regarding Basic Med. What paperwork do you need when flying as a private pilot? Pilots must bring a pilot certificate, government-issued photo ID, and a medical certificate, or required Basic Med paperwork if flying under Basic Med. FAR Part 61.3 spells out the regulations for required documentation needed when flying as a private pilot. Can your passengers pay for rental expenses? A good answer to this question would be something like, my passengers can pay for rental expenses as long as I pay at least the pro rata share of operating expenses. FAR Part 61.113, paragraph C, says that private pilots may not pay less than the pro rata share of the operating expenses of a flight with passengers, provided the expenses involve only fuel, oil, airport expenditures, or rental fees. Assuming no additional ratings or endorsements, describe the types of airplanes a private pilot can fly. Without any additional ratings or endorsements, private pilots are limited to operating single-engine piston aircraft with a fixed tricycle gear, max horsepower of 200, and maximum operating altitude of 25,000 feet or less. Additional ratings and endorsements are needed to fly complex, high-performance or tailwheel aircraft. See FAR Part 61.31 regarding regulations around type ratings and additional training and authorization requirements. What type of medical certificate do you need to be a private pilot? How long is it good for? Private pilots must have at least a third-class medical certificate or Basic Med to exercise private pilot privileges. If under the age of 40, third-class medicals are good for 60 calendar months after the month of the date of medical exam shown on the medical certificate. If 40 or older, third-class medicals are valid for 24 calendar months after the month of the date of medical exam shown on the medical certificate. If using Basic Med, a current and valid U.S. driver's license is needed along with a completed CMEC checklist and Basic Med medical certificate completion course. The specific regulations regarding medical certificates can be found in FAR Part 61.23. Which aircraft require type ratings? Aircraft requiring type ratings include large aircraft, which the regulations define as an aircraft with a certificated max takeoff weight greater than 12,500 pounds, turbojet-powered airplanes, along with other aircraft specified by the administrator through aircraft type certificate procedures. Review FAR Part 61.31 for further study on type rating requirements. What are the eligibility requirements to become a private pilot? For a question like this, your designated examiner will likely not be looking for you to be able to specifically memorize or know each eligibility requirement off the top of your head. Rather, your examiner will want you to have a general understanding of the eligibility requirements for receiving a private pilot certificate. It is more important to know where to find the answers to questions such as this. Eligibility requirements for the private pilot certificate are spelled out in FAR Part 61.103. To be eligible, a pilot must be at least 17 years old, 16 for a glider or balloon rating, and must hold a student, sport, or recreational pilot certificate. The applicant must also be able to read, speak, write, and understand the English language. To be eligible for a private pilot license, the applicant must complete required ground school, fulfill the required flight hour requirements, and pass the written knowledge test as well as successfully completing the private pilot Checkride. When does a private pilot license expire? Private pilot certificates do not expire. However, to remain current, pilots need to adhere to currency requirements highlighted in FAR Part 61.56 and 61.57. What is required to act as pilot in command of a high-performance airplane? See FAR Part 61.31 for the requirements to operate a high-performance airplane. High-performance aircraft are classified as aircraft with greater than 200 horsepower according to Part 61 regulations. To operate a high-performance airplane, a pilot must have received and logged ground and flight training from an authorized instructor in a high-performance aircraft and have received a logbook endorsement that certifies the pilot is proficient in operating a high-performance airplane. Thank you for watching the video. Please like the video and subscribe for more private pilot check ride practice questions and other aviation-related educational videos.